All right, joining me for this live episode of Coffee and UFOs is Bob Davis. He is himself an unseen force as of this moment, but when we flip over to the other side, all will be revealed. If you like today's content, please like, subscribe, comment down below, and of course, you can find the video interview on youtube.com/paranormalpop. Bob, welcome to Coffee and UFOs.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be with you again, Alan.
Cheers, cheers, as always with you. Do you have a brew?
Cheers, indeed. Dark coffee. That's the way I like it.
Oh, that's exactly what I'm drinking.
The only reason why I'm here.
Yeah, an excuse to have a cup.
And UFOs on a potentially historic day in the field of ufology remains to be seen. But
yeah, we were hoping that the UAP task force would have been released at this point, but it has not.
Yeah.
So we'll keep.
We'll continue to speculate on it in the absence of its information.
Yes, I did wonder if it would be kicked down the road a little bit further. So that might be the case. We might just find out. They decided they have more that they need to look into.
That's always a possibility. I thought maybe because of this very unfortunate incident in Miami with the collapse of the building, maybe they don't want to compete, so to speak, with that. And while everybody's a little bit more calm, maybe they'll release it. Who knows? At the end of the day, so everybody can sift on it, right? Don't we tell people you're fired at the end of the week on Friday at 5? Maybe that'll be the same approach.
Well, politicians do the dirty news drops on Fridays, right? Yeah. That's a usual. So maybe it'll be a similar case.
Yeah, possibly.
Okay, so I have to ask you the Coffee and UFO questions, and I'll start first. Have you seen a ghost or cryptid?
I haven't. No, I've researched it and I've written about them, but unfortunately, I haven't.
Do you believe that they are entities unto themselves or manifestations of the mind?
No, I think they're entities in and of themselves. I do. Yes.
Interesting. Okay. So tell us a little bit about Unseen Forces, your book.
It's about mystical experiences, trying to figure out what is going on. It incorporates an extraordinary event that people experience in the form of interacting with the UAP, especially its inhabitants, the intelligence behind it. Something that we need to further explore, other than simply identifying whether or not it is present or not. We know it is. Unseen forces comes in many different forms, but people do experience this unseen force in the sense of a altered time and space, another dimension, another reality, as they contend with fierce determination, either through near-death or out-of-body experiences. Again, the UAP, meditative practices, psychoactive drugs, number of ways to pierce the veil. But these individuals, as you and your listeners well know, are convinced that what they've experienced, as enigmatic as it may be, is indeed real, and they change as a result behaviorally. My book is about that, and in fact, Alan, I'm in the pre-production stage of doing a documentary with David Beatty of Dreamtime Entertainment here in Fort Myers, Florida, and I'd certainly like to talk to you more about that. And we have touched upon that because you could be a very interesting addition in some capacity.
Sure. Well, that's coming out. So when that does come out, we'll cover it. There's also another documentary that you and I are both interviewed for by Jeremy Norrie, and I don't think there's a name for it yet. Did they give you a title?
No, not familiar with it.
Okay, so that's another one that people should look out for as well. Yeah. Have you seen a UFO yourself?
I have. My wife and I, we were vacationing in Sedona, Arizona, and I looked up, noticed a orange orb. Somewhat confused, trying to make sense of it, of course, inconsistent with my brain, obviously. And as I was watching it, all of a sudden, a second one emerged from either behind it or from it directly. Couldn't tell. They both remained stationary for 5, 6, 7 minutes and winked out. No communication, nothing else. But that spurred me. that to write my first book, UFO Phenomenon. Always been a closet ufologist, as you know, Alan, but I needed that, something to cross the line. Mm-hmm. And in retirement, I had the time to do that, and I just had to get it out.
How does it change people's personalities? Like, how did it change you? And because clearly, if you had that experience when you're writing about this and other people, there must have been something that you related to.
If there was something about it, it probably was an unconscious motivation, because I've always been very intensely interested in UFOs my entire life, and that was like the icing on the cake, and that I had the time and the energy and interests, and I did it. I think we have to understand that, however, that there's so much more to this phenomenon than just recognizing its presence or absence. Individuals are interacting with the phenomenon on a personal level, and they are changing in a psycho-spiritual way, in the sense that there's ego dissolution. I think it comes down to that ego dissolution, where they are not the center of the universe anymore. And I think it's one of the wrong things with human brains. We have this ego, and it does serve us fine, but it often gets in the way. Right. And it clouds our thinking, makes us too subjective. We lose our objectivity when too much emotion biases us in the wrong direction. Sure. Yeah. And however, when people have a number of different contact modalities, like NDEs, OBEs, etc., and the UAP, they pierce the veil. For some reason, they do experience what they contend to be an alternate reality. And just realizing what they consider to be home or the ultimate truth somehow, and very possibly, elicits an innate reflex, shall we call it, an understanding, a knowingness that is more to this reality. Is that more complex than we can imagine?
Is that what undercuts the ego? That right there?
Yes, okay. Correct. And that alone, and we could put it, if we could bottle it in water or put it in a pill, I'd take it tomorrow. Yeah, it's not all about me anymore. I'm more empathetic, more compassionate, more spiritual. Less interested in organized religion. I get it. Money, yeah, I gotta live, but it's not that important in the big scheme of things. It's about love. It's about heart and interrelationships. And people become more humane. And we did a study as a part of FREE, the Dr. Rigger Mitchell Foundation. We did a study on over 3,200 individuals that was published in the Journal of Scientific Exploration, talking about just this, Alan, the interaction that people are having with this phenomenon. And the bottom line here is that it occurs much more frequently in the absence of a UAP, meaning people will interact with non-human intelligences, Greys included, the reptilians, etc., the whole bit. More often than not, about 3/4 of the time, they'll see it in other locations, their house, their backyard, elsewhere other than I'm lying on the table with the beings over me. Yeah. That is reported, but much less frequently than we understand.
Why is it that some people don't have these experiences and others have multiple experiences?
It does seem to run in families, as we know. They're suggesting the possibility of a genetic component to this phenomenon, and we can only speculate, which is kind of fun and frustrating at the same time. Some people, however, may be better prepared for such an experience, although when it happens to anybody, your coffee is going to taste a little different the next day, is it not? How can you not be in extreme anxiety? Why me? What happened? What's this all about? To the point where you do very likely need some medical attention, psychiatric assistance of some type. But that's another issue and problem, because we don't know how to deal with these people. The vast majority are very well balanced people from all walks of life worldwide. the few that aren't, we have to be aware that however, that there are some psychotic individuals that are, claiming this kind of experience, but the vast majority are normal individuals who are beyond perplexed about what happened to them. Why is that's a critical question. Why are some experiencing this and others are not? And we don't know.
Because throughout time, there's always been the mystic or the individual who just has these odd experiences. And it seems random, but I would guess it's not random, because if you are one of those people that have more than one experience, there must be some purpose behind it. And do you have any sense of what that purpose is?
No. However, it comes down to consciousness, an attribute of the phenomenon often neglected and ignored by especially the ufology in general community. We have to focus on the physical. It's critical. Jacques Vallée is now talking about having some metamaterial that's being analyzed as we speak. Who knows?
Yeah,
maybe that is the case.
Mm-hmm.
But the non-physical component is something that's certainly not going to appear in the UAP report from the Senate Intelligence Committee. I mean, the public, in a sense, knows more than the people who are actually writing that report.
Yeah.
They're newbies to a large extent of the phenomenon, unless they received information that's not privy to public, in the public domain.
Well, what I'd like to see, Bob, is, and we're all obsessed over whose technology is it, whose craft are these? And my question is, will they have access to materials, to data analysis by the Navy that might shed some light on what kind of technology this is, rather than just whose it is, but like why is it performing the way it is?
Well, we can only speculate, because the conspiracy theorists out there are telling us to some extent that we've back engineered these things, and we're seeing the evidence of it in the skies based on the technology that we acquired through back engineering. Who knows if that is the case? But the only way we are learning about their technology is, I would think, simply through primarily observation and how they react to our military excursions that are in pursuit of it. And we hear various stories about how, of course, they perform kinematic behaviors that would rip anybody inside the craft apart based on the degree of angular turns and given the velocity that they are going. So they certainly mitigate the laws of inertia and gravity. We understand some of these phenomenological features of it, but here again, that's just scratching the surface. Could this be foreign technology? Highly unlikely, because we saw the same kinds of dynamic maneuverability back in World War II in the Foo Fighters, back in the 1890s in the great airships that were being seen at the time, and now the Tic Tac. It morphs over time, but it's the same phenomena in a different suit. And we're likely the new kids on the block, so to speak. And they are in control. We're only going to learn, I think, as much as they are willing to allow us to learn. I think we're dealing with an intelligence that is responsive to the meaning, that we give to the phenomenon. And that's why I think they make it more palpable, more friendly, so to speak, for us to experience them and to realize their presence. I think they're more often than not just saying hello, we're here, and there's more to reality than you might think. But the point is, they are interacting with us, and the non-physical component, whereby people have these group meetings whereby they meditate, they send their positive intentions wherever that's focused towards the phenomena, and in return, bada bing, here's an orb. You speak to the Mike Merbergs up in Tampa, the Chris Bledsoes. You see what they can do, and they can do it. The question is that the phenomenon that we're talking about?
Right.
Just an intelligence that manifests in some way that's as friendly as can be for us.
Bob.
But it interacts with our consciousness, and that's the
Yes.
key.
Yeah. Your insights are utterly fascinating. So for everybody listening, this is Dr. Bob Davis. And if you want to hear more about his work and his theories, check out our interview on Paranormal Now. So Bob, before we close off with Coffee and UFOs, where can people find your book? And what's the one thing you do for fun?
My website, bobdavisspeaks.com, contains information about the books. Amazon, of course, will carry it. For fun, I write, I hike. I'm working on that documentary now, and I enjoy talking to very stimulating people like you who are spreading the word and helping to wake people up. And that's the one thing we'll benefit from in this UAP report. Get more people out there who are become aware of the phenomena, wake them up. We're not going to make any great progress with it. Stanton Friedman is turning over, so to speak, saying, here we go again. Right. It's deja vu. We know that, but it's good. It's good. And
it's still good. Yes.
It's still good.
All right, Bob, thank you so much again.
Thank you, Alan. It's a pleasure.
Okay, take care. And to find out more about this podcast, you can follow me on @paranormal_now on Twitter or @paranormalnow on Instagram. Thanks, everyone, and keep caffeinated and keep chasing the UFOs.